So hi, everyone. Welcome to Bauman Wellness Week. It's our very first edition of Bauman Wellness Week, and we have a week full of presentations where we share information because we believe that wellness belongs to everyone, and we want to make information and wellness accessible to all. So keeping that in mind, we've had a series of presentations, and we even had a movie, and we will continue to have them through the week. So today being Wednesday, we still have Thursday and Friday. And just as another reminder, Jean and myself will be co-hosting for a discussion on sleep on Friday, but we also have discussion tomorrow on Good Deeds by Alicia Ferris, and a few other things with Dr. B as well. Dr. B will be hosting a few discussions and a cooking demo. So please take a look at our calendar and see if you can join us. The Zoom link is the same link for all presentations. We'll also have a movie that we featured earlier in the week, and it'll be featured again later in the week. And encourage you to watch it. We're going to have time for discussion for that as well at the end. So please do join us if you can.
Have you had a chance to see the movie?
I have.
You have?
I have.
Oh, nice.
It was actually it was a good movie, and I'm glad my kiddo and I did our puzzles and we're watching, and he picked up a few good things. And
nice. I haven't had a chance to watch it.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to watching it. But everyone, check out what talks. There's some very, very interesting talks. And we also have another one today at 4:00.
Today we have one at 4. That's right.
So we look forward to seeing you guys there.
And if you join our Bauman Wellness if you go to baumanwellness.com, that's kind of our information website. But from there, you can join our platform, which is also on baumanwellness.co. So there's two ways of joining, but you can come and join our platform. We're on Mighty Networks, and we have a growing community there. And the membership is free for this year. And we'll be posting these recordings onto that website. And we'll also be sharing our handouts on that. So all of our topics not all, but some of our topics have handouts, and those will be available on the platform, on the Mighty Network platform. And let's see, was there anything else that we wanted to share about that?
I think that's it right now. If there's anything we've forgotten, we'll circle back to it later.
And Dr. B will be joining us later on in the discussion. So today our discussion is about the very important topic of plastics. So it's a very, very big topic, much like earlier topics. Oh, right. Actually, that is what I wanted to share with you, was that earlier today we had a great cooking demo hosted by Alicia Ferris and Lauren Bryson, and we had some teens. Our kids were featured in there. So if you do join the platform and able to access the recording, I think you'll find it enjoyable. And the food was actually very delicious. So,
yes. We sampled.
We sampled, and very good. So again, today we're going to talk about plastics, and it's a very big world of plastics. So obviously we're not going to cover all facets, but we'll do our best to touch upon what we find is important to talk about as a community about plastics. So before we do, we're going to do let's do a quick intro.
Right.
So today we're going to talk about the impact of plastics on our homes and our health. And it's developed by Bauman Wellness by Jean and myself.
Yes.
And a quick disclaimer, we want to say that this presentation is for educational purposes only. It's not intended to replace professional or medical treatment advice and or diagnosis. So we are the practitioners.
The two of us.
Presenting today, and I feel so fortunate that we're doing this together, because when we actually created this talk, we were thinking that we were being separate. So we feel very fortunate that we're able to present today together. My name is Amiko Luisi, and I just listed a few fun facts about myself. I love my plants, and I'm into fermenting. I graduated from Bauman College. I did about 10 years in the video game industry a while back. Took some time off to raise my family, and then followed my heart and passion into nutrition, and found my way to Bauman. And I graduated from Bauman a few years ago, and I am now a board certified holistic nutrition consultant. And I'll have my contact info at the end. And to be honest, I'm not very well developed on social media, but please do come and engage and talk to me. I'm very happy to do so. So, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Actually, I'm going to ask Emiko,
yes,
tell me something that is not here, something different that nobody Nobody
Wow,
knows.
let's see.
Or should I introduce myself and then you can come back?
Well, I was going to say, the funny thing that links us together, we met actually at a nutrition conference, and out of the whole, there's many people that come from all over the United States and the world. And we ended up at a table where we were the only two locals from the area where we're from. And on top of that, we had this great conversation well into midnight. There was a full moon, and it turns out she speaks Japanese. And so we were speaking in Japanese for a long time. It was
meant to be.
It was meant to be. Right. So we've been hanging out ever since, and I'm not going to let her go. So anyways.
So that was something. Yes, I think it was serendipitous. I can't even say serendipitous. Serendipitous. Okay, we got that word. Don't ask me to spell it. So as you can tell, I am Irish. Came to the US via Japan. I actually went to university in Japan and spent a few years there. Came here and absolutely loved Japan, loved it here, was always going to go back, and then suddenly I'm here. How many? Over 15 years, it's just time has flown. I did have a health awakening, or a kind of a health journey about 5.5 years ago, where I had cancer. And as you can see, I describe myself not as a cancer survivor. I want to be a cancer thriver. I want to be thriving. I want to be really, living my life to the utmost. But it took me on a journey of really looking at what I'm doing, what I'm eating, what I'm using in my house. And I thought, and again, I thought I was doing well. I thought I was paying attention, but there were things when I started taking a good look, I really noticed, no, there are things I can change. But and so that's really kind of where I'm kind of coming from. I used to do adventure racing. If anyone knows about it, you can ask me about it later, but it's 24-hour, 36-hour races. It's great fun. And I have a 9-year-old who actually is just over here.
I'm just going to switch camera because Kieran's been working hard all day.
Okay.
All right. You say hi, Kieran.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi. Perfect. Okay.
So Kieran is my pride and joy, and he is the reason I do this, because I want to make the world, to make a better place, but I also want to make it safer for him, not just for me, but also for him and his generation. So that's pretty much it. Oh, I came to Bauman College. I graduated last year, and I am also currently a restorative wellness practitioner. I'm specializing in digestive issues, in hormones, and also currently blood chemistry. So our contact information will be at the end, and we can kind of talk a little bit more if you want to come and ask us questions.
And if you haven't figured it out already, we're actually at Bauman College today. Very exciting. And so you may hear some sounds in the background, and it's just because there's people here doing all the cooking things and all the exciting things that we do at Bauman. So anyways, we're going to move on to the next slide, and I'm going to let Jean take over from here. Oh, actually,
okay. Yeah. I'll take that. So really, again, to cover plastics, this is a topic we could spend days, months. I mean, we really could, it's something that there's so much to talk about.
So much
really, there's a lot. And so today we're just going to briefly touch on topics, and these are discussions that we would love to continue with you on the platform, on Mighty Networks. If we can continue this discussion and continue exploring and learning together, because that's really what this is about. But today we're just going to talk about plastic and how it impacts your health. Then I will start with that. Then Emiko is going to do plastics in our home. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to just talk about options. And when we kind of go into exploring options, we'll also have a discussion, because this is not just about us telling you. What we do is we want to get ideas from you. We want to explore. We want to share, because that's really how we learn and we grow.
That's right. We want it to be a discussion at the end, and we want to share ideas. And like Jean said, it's such a big topic, and we've done quite a lot of research. And I think, within the scope of this presentation, we're only going to be able to touch on it. But again, come to the Mighty Network platform, join baumanwellness.co or .com, find us there, and we can continue. And again, it's about sharing ideas. We're not just sages on stages. We're here to learn as well. So.
Alrighty. So I guess we go to plastics and our health. I'll just take it over a little bit here. And again, as we were talking about, plastics are everywhere. They are, we're surrounded by it. I'm looking around, there is plastic in all our lives. And plastics really have made a lot of innovations that brought us so many new things that it's impossible to think of a life without plastics. in fact, I mean, this computer, I couldn't even talk to you without plastics. So unfortunately, there is kind of a dark side to plastics when it comes to our health. But with knowledge and once we have that information, we can use that, and that can help us then make different and better choices. I was actually when I was trying to kind of put my thoughts together, I was on a wonderful family vacation, and it was very warm. And so one of the things we were talking about all the time is making sure you get enough water, get hydrated. And especially after that wonderful talk that Emiko and Arima did, and also Anita was doing as well, on water. And so like how important it is to be hydrated and kind of what water can do for your body. And yet what I was drinking out of plastic water bottles. And there we are. And I think this is something that we struggle with, is that, we're doing something right. We're hydrating ourselves. We're getting water. We're doing something that we should be doing and is good for us. But at the same time, it's also harming our health. And so what it kind of made me think about, how can we continue to be hydrated, but pay attention to not getting the chemicals that we may be exposed to at the same time. And so the discussion kind of here really is it's around endocrine disruptors or EDCs. And I don't know if anyone has heard of EDCs. I think most people here may have heard of EDCs, or endocrine disrupting chemicals or endocrine disrupting compounds. An easier kind of ways, or there may also be called xenohormones. Xeno as in foreign, and hormones are kind of what make our body run. We need our hormones. So, or the xenohormones are essentially fake hormones in our body, and they connect to receptors. And but they're not hormones. They're not natural hormones. They are synthetic hormones. And because of this, they, even at low doses, and sometimes you will hear that at low doses, it's okay, but even at low doses, they have found that they can still disrupt and cause neurodegenerative diseases. They can affect your immune system, and they can also cause cancer. They change your metabolism. There are so many different risks with these endocrine disruptors that we really need to pay attention to them and be aware and try and avoid them as much as possible. They've also been linked to breast cancer, of course, which is something that's kind of near and dear to me, and it's something that I feel very passionate about. And they're also in a lot of beauty products as well. So here on the presentation, you can see that there's 3 ones that I've touched very briefly on, because to be honest, to go into detail of all the different ones could take, again, months. But we have BPS, or it should be BPA, not BPS and BPS, BPA and BPS, phthalates and styrene. Phthalates, we'll actually start with the second, phthalates, and this is one is very tricky to actually pronounce. Ignore the PH at the beginning. It's really, the pronunciation is THALATES, phthalates. And they're a plasticizer used to make things more pliable, make things more soft. They're also used to make fragrance stick, to make smells stick. And they are very common. They're everywhere. Some other names for phthalates can be also DPP, DEP, and DHEP. So, I'll have this in a handout that will be available on the network. With the phthalates, when they are, the molecules within phthalates are very loose, so they can actually be released quite easily, and they can leach out. And an example would be, for instance, vinyl floors. The phthalates can leach out, and it can mix with the dust, and then you can actually inhale it, which then can cause issues within your body. So we also have, for instance, it's in food packaging, teething rings. It's in, one thing that I learned, in a lot of makeup. So for instance, in your foundation, we want our foundation, you want to squeeze it out. You want a nice soft bottle. So you want the plastic to be easier to squeeze. And unfortunately, that plastic, it may have phthalates in it. And so you do find it all over the place. And unfortunately, phthalates is not something you will often see on a label. You may, but it's not very often on the label. It's very often hidden underneath a term called fragrance or parfum. Perfume. And unfortunately, that has been used over the years. It's an umbrella term that has up to 3,000, maybe 4,000 different chemicals in that umbrella term. And a lot of companies don't disclose what's in there simply because it's used as it's their proprietary information that they don't disclose it. Unfortunately, yes, there may be some proprietary information, but it also may include phthalates and other chemicals that are very harmful to us. So since I became aware of this, I don't buy anything that has fragrance or perfume on it that doesn't disclose what exactly is the fragrance. So that's phthalates. And I funny thing where I had some people saying, oh, well, I don't have to worry about it. I'm a guy. Guys don't have to worry. They don't use as many products. There was a Harvard study that actually showed that men using one single product, such as an aftershave or a cologne, had up to a 33% increase in phthalates in their urine. So it affects all of us. The other thing that is very important is to, or actually let me move on to BPA and BPS. So BPA it's a synthetic estrogen-like chemical. It was actually used, and I don't know if you know this, Emiko, but it was used originally to fatten up cattle.
Nice.
So it was used in order to fatten them up so that they, again, we want the cattle to, we get more money when they have more fat. And so we know, and this is something that's very important for these endocrine disrupting chemicals, small doses they've found can be just as toxic, if not more, than larger doses. And smaller doses work differently to larger doses. But the small doses can affect them. And given the fact that it was used to fatten cattle, we know it affects metabolism. Mm-hmm. We know it's an estrogen mimicking compound. So we know it's messing with our estrogen. We know it's messing with our hormones. So it can be found in so many different products. And I know we've heard about it recently. I mean, I think a lot of people have heard about BPA and BPA free. But unfortunately, there is now a new player in the market, which is known as BPS, and bisphenol A, bisphenol S. And unfortunately, that is also a hormone mimicking compound. And so while something may say it's BPA free, it doesn't mean that it's safe. It may mean that there is bisphenol or BPS in it, which is also which is harmful to our bodies. And it can be in things such as dental sealants. It can be in cans, grocery receipts. And that's something not a lot of people are aware. In your grocery receipts, you can actually have that chemical as well. So transfer. I mean, it transfers onto your skin. So definitely something to pay attention to.
So you're saying that because we found an alternative to BPA, we're not quite out of the woods yet.
No, we're not. And unfortunately that happens with a lot of the chemicals because there's a lot of kind of people demand change. They know that BPA is harmful. And so the industry brings in another chemical to replace it. But the studies may not be done on those new chemicals. And they are not necessarily looking for better and safer. They're looking for something quickly to replace. Mm-hmm. So we need to do our kind of research. We need to study just to see what they're replacing it with. And I think that's also happened in a lot of non-stick pans, things like that. So definitely we just, again, having this knowledge though.
It's so interesting because everybody was against BPA so much that when they came out with this alternative, people were happy to have it, but not questioning what was.
Right. And we're just so happy to see BPA. It's like, okay, it's BPA free. Let's go with it. So again, it's just, let's take a pause and then think about the other options. Mm-hmm. And I know you're going to talk about more options, which is great. Mm-hmm. And then last, styrene. And styrene is something that the International Agency for Research on Cancer, they have identified that styrene is a probable carcinogen. Mm-hmm. They have found in various different studies that again, it will, it can cause damage to your body. So now with styrene as well, it's more about when it's heated. And that also applies to some of the other ones as well. When they're heated, that's when they tend to leach a lot of the chemicals. Mm. So for styrene, for instance, getting a styrene cup with hot water in it, or your hot coffee is probably not the best idea. And also it tends to leach out and go into oilier foods, those kind of, and into liquids. So it's kind of, if you're in a situation where you have no choice, look at maybe what kind of food or what kind of contents are going into it. If it's a cold drink, you may not be as much at risk. If it's a warmer drink, it tends to leach out more. So these
kind of like, you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't. But if you have to,
right? You've got some options.
Because how many conferences have we been to and they have the styrofoam?
Yes, with the coffee and
the coffee and the tea.
And actually, something that I remember recently, a friend of mine, we got a Starbucks, and the little lids on the top of the Starbucks, and she said, no, leave the lid off. And I'm like, why would we leave the lid off? I mean, we always, it's the first thing you put your lid on. She said, no, I mean, can't you see it's the condensation is building up at the top, and we don't know what's being leached, what may be released down into your drink as you drink it for the next, 20, 30 minutes. Right. So if you can, again, these are just different options. If you can, take off the lid if you're not going anywhere. If you're driving, you may have no choice. But
which one? The hot liquid?
Is I hot liquid, or do I get to my destination?
Or the plastic.
Right. So again, these are just kind of things to think about. And I think when we know, again, we have options and we can take steps. So that's pretty much right. I mean,
there's so many chemicals. So I appreciate you highlighting the baddies, the real big ones.
They're the ones to look out for right now.
Look out for.
And I mean, there are more, but I think it can be overwhelming. So let's just kind of start with kind of the biggies, and then we kind of and again, let's try to see if we can take them out of our lives.
Yeah.
So if we can take them out of our lives,
that's right.
And there are ways. I mean, I know kind of when I hear you kind of describing what we can do.
It's about awareness, and it's about just making better choices when we can. And we still have to live our lives, and we can do as much as advocacy work as we can to try to get some of these things out of our supply chain. And that's, I think that's where we start, right? Because that's what we've done so far. And that's why we see hotels maybe offering paper cups or, as a better option. But it's an uphill battle, but it's something that you bring awareness to it, advocacy, and we try to do something about it. And we try to make it better for our children and for us as well.
Right.
But,
I do agree. I think it's through the laws are slow to change, and we are our best advocates.
Right.
And so by our voices, it's our voices that can bring about change. And that's something that makes me feel empowered, because we can bring about change.
When we raising awareness.
Raising awareness, and then kind of hopefully bring about change. So
I heard a story about how I think one community was really concerned and enraged about having the receipts and knowing that the receipts actually had plastic and chemicals. So they really rallied, and I'm just kind of recalling off the top of my head because Jean shared the info about the receipts, but they rallied to not have that in that particular grocery store. So we are the consumers. We have power when we can try to work together to do that, to make it better for everyone. And Jean, I really appreciate learning about that and styrene, and it's so common, and it's so much part of our lives that it's really about the toxic load, where what can we do to just ease the toxic load. Right. It's a given that all this is in our environment, so it's just about making some choices to change a few things. And the one thing I don't want to do is to overwhelm. My intention is not to overwhelm any of you or myself in this endeavor to try to ease plastics out of our home. I'm just going to switch it so Jean can check the chat while we're doing. One of the things that not being overwhelmed, and just starting from where you can, and you take a look around your kitchen, you take a look around your home, because your home is your sacred space, and you can control what can come in and what cannot come in, or what can. And for some things we cannot. Right? So it's not an absolute, but just taking a look around your home and seeing what we can do, what kind of changes we can make in our home. I will say that the pandemic and sheltering in place has really done a doozy on the plastic consumption. As you probably know, I notice it in my, local grocery store parking lots. I'll see discarded gloves and masks, and I'm just kind of heartbroken about that, and the fact that we're using so much more plastic because of the concern for being sanitary, and just being concerned about not transferring, whatever that someone might be carrying. And so, when I see that, I think, well, then now we need to double down. We need to make it a more concerted effort in our own homes and in our communities to really try and shift things. So my first advice would be to go slow and start with what you can. We don't want overwhelm, because sometimes with overwhelm, then you kind of give up, and we don't want you to give up. We want you to, be part of this, change and just mindset shift. And part of it is a mindset shift, that just learning to see things differently. I will just share a really quick story, which is hilarious, because I was trying to be mindful. I had purchased recyclable plastic, or plastic that was made out of corn, I believe it was. And so I had purchased that for a family party, and set it aside. I used it, but then there were a number of them that I hadn't used, and I set it aside for a few years. Fast forward a few years, I had a birthday party for my son. So we had, like 10 kids around the table, and I distributed all this, this compostable plastic, if you will. And so what happened was, because a few years had passed, they had kind of been weakened a little bit. So all the kids are trying to eat cake. And as they're putting the cake in their mouth or whatever it was, the utensils were snapping and breaking. It was just like, it was just like, with good intention, we're doing this. But the kids were just like, there's just, I think there were like 6 or 7 at the time. So they were, my spoon is breaking, my plastic's breaking. So,
but at least it wasn't lasting forever.
It wasn't lasting forever. And it made me feel good to know, okay, it actually does break down.
Right. So that is
being mindful of purchasing that. So I will start by saying there is in July a plastic-free July challenge coming up. That's just kind of in the ether. So if you look in your local, if you look on some online sites for, actually I have some online sites that I'll be referring on the handout, but if you do a search for like zero waste or July plastic free challenge, and maybe put in your area, zip code, or your city name, I think you might see some people trying to run like plastic free challenges in July. So it should be really cool. I think it'd be a good challenge.
And actually that might be something, while you're listening, if there's something that you guys would like to do, or kind of, to challenge yourself, maybe we could talk about that in a few moments. That would be
cool. I'd be down with that.
I want to hear some ideas. So, well, tell me, what can we do in our houses?
So I'll start by saying, I take a few steps back, and I would consider. I'm just going to start. Something's on my screen here. I would encourage people to buy in bulk to start with. So with the pandemic, a lot of the bulk sections were closed, and I think hopefully we'll start seeing things open back up. But again, a bulk is something that you can also order in bulk online and share with your friends. So sometimes I have a little mini co-op with my friends, and I'll say, send a quick email or message out and say, does anybody need some buckwheat? And we will buy like 5 or 25-pound bags of buckwheat together, and we split that. So there is no packaging. The only packaging is the buckwheat comes in, but we bring our own jars and our own bags, and we distribute. So buying in bulk would be a great option for starting to go plastic free, because each time that you buy buckwheat in packages in these 1 pound or 5 pound, and oftentimes they do come in plastic bags, then that's just more burden on the environment that we're putting out there once we've used that 1 pound. And also it's economical, because you can really save a lot of money by buying in multiples of more than just 1 pound. When you do the 25 pounder, it's amazing the discount that you can get. So it also encourages us to buy. So when you're in bulk, you're sitting out of the grocery store, you really start to assess, what is it that I really need, and what is it that our family really needs. So less waste in that. We're not just participating in the consumerism of everything and buying things in individual packages. So it's one of those things where people hear buying in bulk and they're thinking, I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if I can do this, but it actually really is super easy. And I will say that once the supermarkets do offer bulk sections, and you may have seen them in supermarkets, they're usually like in these bins, the food are in bins, and there's a little slot, and you kind of just take what you need, and then you measure the container before you get the bulk food in. And then after you get the bulk food, then the cashier usually is able to tell the difference. And so you're not paying for the container, you're just paying for the item that's in the container. And speaking of the container, with bulk purchases, you usually have to bring your own container. So it's a slight, inconvenience for some, but if you pre-plan the trip, the way I see it is, I love it because I bring my own jars to, so our local co-op, the local co-op to me is called Rainbow Market in San Francisco. I bring a number of jars with me and, or my own bags, cloth bags. I'll go to the bulk section. I pre-weigh the container so that I know how much the container weighs. And then I go to the bulk section, get what I need. And then when I go to the cashier, they're able to minus the weight of the container and then just charge me for what's in the container. And what I love about this is that I could just go home and put everything like right away into the pantry. There isn't like fussing and mussing and looking for places to put in. And then sometimes, you forget about something that you buy and you might put it somewhere in the deep corners of the pantry, but everything is done. I have everything in my jars and the way I label them, and it's all done. So it's actually, it's kind of a inconvenience, some people might say. But anyways, that's one of my advices for going plastic free or starting to go plastic free, is using your own jars and buying in bulk. The other thing is also, speaking of jars, when you're some people talk about how accessible or not accessible jars are. And right now, I know mason jars are on shortages, but you can always recycle the glass jars that, that might come with like almond butter or pickles or something like that. You just rinse it out, put a little baking soda to get the scent out, and you can reuse those jars. So I would, and on that note, I would say, one quick note I did want to share, for tea, buying in bulk is great because I don't know if you knew this, but when you buy tea that's in a tea bag, those tea bags usually have some kind of plastic mixed into the tea bag. So unless it specifically says on the tea box container that when you're buying a box of tea satchels, if it specifically says that it's 100% cotton or 100% paper, those filters, those little filters that individuate each of those, teas, they are actually made with plastic.
So even those ones that you put into your
That's
tea,
right.
it's made, and you're putting it into hot water.
And what do we say about heat and plastic?
Putting it into heat.
So you're putting plastic, you're putting plastic satchel full of teas in hot water, so you're activating the plastic.
So again, we may be trying to do what's right, drink your tea, but we may not be the best option.
May not be the best option. Okay. So not doom and gloom here, but I'm just kind of a big proponent of bulk purchasing if you can.
But then, you can get fresh loose tea and you can mix
fresh loose tea, and then you can mix it however you want as well.
Nice.
So, and so moving on to that from the jars, we're going to talk about cooking and storage. So oftentimes people will say, well, I need to store my food, and the plastic containers are really the simplest and the most convenient. It doesn't break. And, in my experience, yes, I actually see a breakage of more plastic containers, or I'm currently, I don't have as much plastic in my home. So, when I store plastic, it doesn't take temperature very well, extreme temperatures. So it doesn't take fridge or freezer very well without some kind of cracking going on. And the cracking usually happens like sooner than later. And yes, there is an inconvenience using glass. Sometimes there's a danger of, breaking the glass. But I think that comes with any kind of storage system use. And on the whole, I really don't have too much breakage with glass. My only concern is if you're going to freeze the glass, then you have to be aware of how you do that, because you have to leave a little space for expansion of the food product when you're putting it into the freezer if it's like a liquid thing. So,
but you'll still use glass in the freezer.
I have used glass. Yes. So sometimes I'll make a big batch of soup or stock or broth, and I will fill my mason jar up to the shoulder and probably leave. I'm very generous with the space because I don't want any breakage. Right. And then when I store it in the freezer, I just store it and try to put something in between the glasses so that they're not really bumping each other. And then take that and use it. Voila. And I can use the glass jar for however I want to.
Right.
So, and yes, let's see here. So we really want to be careful with plastic. Jean had mentioned when you're storing food in plastic, the oils from the food and hot liquids from the foods or any kind of liquids, when I'm touching the plastic, you're getting transference, you're getting plastic leaching into the food. And then that food goes into your body and you're ingesting plastic. And not to depress anyone, but we are already ingesting a lot of, we do all kind of carry microplastics within us just because it's in the environment and plastic has been around for so long. And I just want to also point out here that, plastic does have a purpose and function. I know that in the medical field, plastic has been very, very handy for things. So I'm not knocking plastic 100%, but I just think that there's changes that we can make in the home that will ease the use of plastic. I would also advocate the use of stainless steel containers if you're looking for storage, but also even for lunches. So for my son, I invested in a stainless steel container, and at the time it cost $22 thereabouts dollars. And I would say right now the lunchbox storages range anywhere from $20 to about $40. But having said that, I bought those lunch boxes when he was 3 years old, and he is, well into his teens. And so I've had those same stainless steel lunch boxes for over 10 years, and they are still in great shape. I'm using them with my other little. I also use them whenever. I use them all the time when we go out for a picnic or when we're just going out for a little, we're going to go visit a relative and we're just going to be in the car for an hour. Just chop up some apples and throw it into that container. I'm not wasting any plastic, no plastic baggies, Right. So there's that. And having said this, over the years, I think as the awareness raises about our use of plastic, there's been more options for us to explore other than plastic. So the latest kind of, person or this element to come on is the silicone bags. And I'm not 100% down with silicone, but if I need something that's kind of soft and pliable to store things, like let's say if I've got if my little one is going and walking around and eating something and I don't want him to use a glass jar or a stainless steel box is kind of inconvenient, then I have a silicone bag that he can, I'll again put some snacks in there for him or whatever he's munching on, and he can use that. But the beautiful thing is I can reuse it. It's a quick wash and I can reuse it. And know that the glass jar is another thing. Glass jars with stainless steel boxes and containers, you can put them in the dishwasher, right? So one of the things that we learned in Bauman, of course, and on our own research was that plastic and dishwasher are not good friends. Why? Because when you put the plastic in the dishwasher, first of all, it's getting washed with hot water, but then again, it's also being dried with a very, very high heat. So it degrades the plastic, but it also, then it's being washed with other things, and then more plastic is going into our water supply. So overall, I would just, if you can rethink that, plastic really doesn't belong in the dishwasher or any kind of hot element.
Or microwave.
Yeah, it's a really big one. Yes, I forgot to mention that.
Yes,
thanks for it, because microwave is huge. And I think a lot of people will pack their lunches in a plastic container, take it to work, microwave it, and I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, no, because that heat is activating the plastic, and you're getting a lot of transference of the plastic into the chemicals in the plastic into your food. So I hope this is not scaring anyone. My intention is really to encourage and empower you. So I hope that's what I'm doing. I just want to be an advocate for just exploring other options, and just as our ancestors did. So our ancestors didn't have plastic, and they did just fine. They had, they made things with using glass and wooden containers and such. The other option, of course, is cloth, and you can using your cloth to store your vegetables instead of the plastic. And you can make your own cloth, so you can just quickly sew. I know people that recycle the cloth and just make these bags, and they store their vegetables or snacks in them. So there's definitely ways around it. And also for storage, I did want to mention a really cool item was the beeswax fabric. So oftentimes, if you have leftovers, or maybe you cut, sometimes we eat a lot of lemons in our house. We cut a lemon, and half of it is exposed. And so what I will do is get my beeswax wrap, and it's basically a piece of fabric that's cut down in different sizes. Beeswax. And so with a little bit of heat, just between your hands, even, you can just put it between your hands to make it a little pliable. And you can wrap it around the lemon, or you can wrap it around the container. Like, let's say if it's an open jar or something, and I just wrap it around that jar on the top, put it in my fridge, and it's good to go. And those are reusable. You can wash them, reuse them. And when you're done with it, let's say it's kind of lost its life. Do you know where it can go? Compost.
Yes, nice.
So awesome.
Yes.
So it doesn't go, yes, it takes a while to break it down, but at least it's going in our compost and not in our landfill. So,
and I think they're fairly easy to get. I mean, you can get
They
them.
are.
They were harder to get,
Yes.
but I've seen them in, your regular department stores, or stores, supermarkets.
Yeah, absolutely. In the beginning, it was kind of, expensive option, but now it's a lot more available, and you can even look on Etsy and Trader Joe's was carrying it for a while.
Yes,
So
yes, I saw that.
It's very accessible. I'm just going to cover bathroom options really quick, because actually a bathroom generates a lot of waste and plastic use, more than probably we would know. So shampoo and conditioner. I have a ton of, shampoo and conditioner bottles, I will admit, but I'm trying to wean my family off of that and go onto shampoo bars. So shampoo bars are just soap bars.
Right. Yes.
Right. And you just kind of lather up and put it into your hair. And it's just, it's funny because our concept of the liquid soap, it's kind of always been around. It was new to me. I still remember when it came on the market, but my kids, all they know is the liquid soap. So it's a matter of just kind of managing their mindset into thinking, oh, we use the bar to wash our body and we use the shampoo bar for our hair. So again, it's just a mindset shift, and not to make it a big deal. You can have both options available for a while and kind of wean people off plastic, and then have them use a shampoo bar.
Now, question with the shampoo bars: do they make your hair as soapy, as sudsy, or is it less sudsy? Because I think, well, first of all, it depends on what kind of shampoo, liquid shampoo that you've been using. But in my opinion, it's not as sudsy, but it's very effective. Actually, it cleans my hair really well. So I really like it. So I think for me, it's just, I think we're so used to that sudsy effect, and that may not always be the best option. So it's just getting used to that. It may be different, but it's not that it's a bad different. It's a good different.
And also for these liquid shampoos and liquid soaps, unfortunately, a lot of them do have a lot of chemicals, and the shampoo bars are usually just your basic ingredients: the oil, the emulsifier, maybe some fragrance, and whatever else that the soap maker wants to put. So it's actually a better option for your body as well, so that we're not absorbing, because our skins are our largest organ. And when you're in the shower, showering and doing all things, then you're absorbing all that. So like we talked about in the water talk, there's a lot that your skin absorbs. So really quickly, I also want to just mention toothpaste, because those toothpaste tubes, it breaks my heart. I know. Because they're such thick plastic, and sometimes they're lined with a little aluminum inside as well. So great options for toothpaste on the market now. They have these, sometimes, I don't know if you've seen, but they're pellets, and you can actually use them, and they foam up just fine. There's also toothpaste where people have made, I've purchased them through a company called Overwhelm Wellness. And I don't want to mention too many companies, and I'm not trying to endorse anybody. I'm just mentioning that they have like an essential oil mix, and it's well diluted. And it's amazing how clean my mouth feels, and it's all natural products, right? So it's not, and of course, when I say natural products, there are some things that maybe are not a fit for your body. So to each our own, we do have to kind of experiment and see what works and what doesn't work for our body. But on the whole, I think that those are much better options than having toothpaste in a plastic tube that unfortunately goes in a landfill, and there's just so much landfill as it is. So if we can try to reduce that, that would be good. And for women, I'm just going to put out there really quick, we can use, like Jane had mentioned, makeup palettes that have reusable casings, so that you can just swap out the colors of whatever you're using for lip or, for your eye. And the menstrual products, I will briefly mention that there's a lot of great alternatives now. One of them is the menstrual cup, and using, there's a Thinx underwear and cloth pads as well. So there's a lot of waste from that as well when we're just using, pads and tampons, because those do also go in the landfill. So that's just kind of, as you can see, I could probably go on for a long time about alternatives. I'm going to stop right here. And I just wanted to see if anyone has any comments, questions, Actually, yes. Do we need to do discussion first? Or?
We have one question.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And I think it's from Dawn. She'd like to know where you can get natural shampoo bars.
Oh my gosh, natural shampoo bars. I do have a website, I believe, Dawn. You can also look online if you do an online search for shampoo bar. And a lot more stores are carrying it. There's one that a name I have, and I haven't tried this brand. I actually bought mine. I believe a friend gifted it to me, and she may have bought it at a farmer's market. Farmer's market's another great plastic-free option to explore because you can bring your own bags and all that stuff. So shampoo bar, it's called Aquarian Bath. And let me know if you want me to type that in the chat. Or Dawn, I think we're on Mighty Networks, so just get in touch with me and I can type it out for you then as well. Or you can wait for the handout and I'll put that on there. But Aquarian Bath. And really quick, I do want to mention some keywords that you can put into a Google search if you wanted to. And some of those key searches are zero waste, right? So if you do zero waste, and then you can say zero waste shampoo or zero waste bathroom. Oh, you will find a multitude of information for your options. And
I think when I was looking, you've got so many different like essential oils. There's a lot of essential oils, and everyone is kind of partial to certain essential oils. So there's ones I prefer, there's probably ones you prefer. So again, it's kind of up to the individuals to which one to use. But that was the one thing, is just when the fragrance is essential oil, not only do you get that beautiful smell, you don't get the chemicals, but they're also healing. I mean, there is a therapeutic value to the essential oils. Right. So again, it's a win-win.
That's right. It's a win-win in our book.
Yes. Well, yes.
We try. And so again, not being overwhelmed, just doing the small steps. I provided just a few options for you to try and explore, but hopefully you can take a look around your kitchen and bathroom and say, what can we try? And if it doesn't work, then, find another option. I think the best thing going for us is that we have so many more options than we did even 5 years ago or 20 years ago. Right. Okay.
Should we do the next? We go into the next
one. Oh, yeah.
Shall we?
This
one.
Yes.
I think this speaks for itself. I mean, I don't think we need to.
This is one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing right now, is because we see and hear about the Pacific Garbage Patch. 20 years ago or 20 plus years ago, I did some research on Pacific Garbage Patch. It was huge back then, and it's the size of Texas, basically floating in the middle of the Pacific Ocean between California and the coast of the western coast and Hawaii. You have this huge swirl, but I was so disheartened to learn that that's not the only garbage patch. Right. There's actually several garbage patches around the world. And that's, it's the storms, it's people littering, it's, all the elements, basically, it's happening, and the plastic gets thrown out and accumulates in the ocean. And I know many of us have seen the picture of like the turtle with the straw stuck in, or birds that have eaten plastic because thinking that it was something else. And so this is really, I think, comes down to why we're doing what we're doing.
And I mean, it's my son, when he saw this, his comment was, he'd heard about the garbage patch, but when he actually realized that there were 5, he was gobsmacked. I mean, it's, and so I think it's time. We have options. Yeah. There's a lot of options coming out. We can make changes,
small changes to make big differences. And I can't even think, sometimes I'm flying over, like, I remember being on a flight and thinking we're flying out to I think it was Chicago. We're flying out to Chicago, and I was just thinking, wow, wait a minute, so the garbage patch is like this size. Yes. Not all the way to Chicago, but I'm just thinking that as we're flying across California, I thought, well, gosh, it's the size of Texas, so that means it's like bigger than this. That's just mind-numbing that to think of that we humans are doing this. So let's just try even like a tiny bit.
So let's bring to the discussion.
And then, and I did want to share.
Yes, this wonderful, yes.
I did want to share. I was in the Mission, which is in San Francisco. I was in the Mission the other day with my kiddo, and I saw this, and I just was like, hooray! We can do hard things. I quote Glennon Doyle because she's so inspirational. But I love seeing murals like this where they're raising awareness in the neighborhood about plastic, and let's save our oceans. Yes. Let's try. And so, anyways, I just want to end on a positive note.
Yes.
And
what's your biggest concern? I mean, we don't need to go through each of these, but what's your biggest concern? Or are there ways that you are trying to reduce plastic? And then how do you feel you could bring this discussion to your community or your life or your family? Again, love to hear from
anyone. And I would love to also hear of any options that
yes.
There's so many options. So let's share and learn from one another about what are the options. And there's so many that I didn't cover, of course, but I would love to hear from the community. If there's any like companies we should be looking at, and if there's any products that we should be considering. So anyone.
Let's unshare the screen so we can see the gallery.
I have a comment here. Continuing the Irish trend, I was thinking the company in Dublin, Jefferson Smurfit, if you're familiar with that name, they developed cartons way back in the day for milk. And back in the day, it was inconceivable. You could put liquid in paper. Like, who would ever thought you could do that? So I'm thinking, why can't they put water in paper cartons, degradable, biodegradable paper cartons, like they did with milk? You know, it's just a thought. And it's an Irish thought.
No, it's a good thought. I mean, again, these are definitely options that they are. I mean, but we don't often see water. We tend to see water in plastic.
Mm-hmm. And then if they do use it, usually the lining to keep the paper from degrading. I'd be concerned about that. Like, I'd be curious about what kind of lining.
Right.
Having said that, there's all kinds of tech there's all kinds of tech now being developed. So I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that somebody will develop something. But it's funny you mentioned that, because some milk companies local in our area have actually started putting milk in glass bottles again. Right. And so the only inconvenience is that we have to, pay the deposit and get all that. But I love it. My kids love drinking from a glass milk bottle. So,
I mean, you probably remember the days in Ireland when the milk used to be delivered by the milkman.
That's right, yeah.
Glass bottles always. In the 6, you'd have 6 of them, and then there would be the cream at the top.
Oh my God. The cream at the top.
And it's funny because my son, he loves, it's one of the things he actually asked for. My dad as well, they want the cream. It's like, they fight for it. Like, I want the cream. The cream.
So my father-in-law used to, when he was a kid, he told me when he saw us using glass milk bottles, and he was like, his eyes went wide, and he wanted it because he said when he was a kid, he used to take the straw before everybody got to the milk in the morning. He used to take the straw or a spoon and scoop out the cream from the top.
I remember back in the day coming back from a late night and picking up a bottle of milk outside someone else's house and coming home in the early hours. Well, we won't say too much about that.
Giving away family secrets here.
You guys are doing a great job. You really play off each other really well. We might become friends. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Let's see.
I'm so curious. And I'm curious about where you're from. Like, I know Susie's California. I'll just say that.
Ruth,
can I ask a question? This is a really dumb question, but it might not be. I don't know. I'm just walking into my doctor's office, but I have to know if there's any truth in this. I particularly shy away from those thin plastic water bottles. I always think something thicker plastic is better than the thinner plastic. Is there any truth in that?
Well,
you take it.
I
don't want to go down the spiral.
I think sometimes for the thinner, the more pliable plastic, you have phthalates in them in order to make them pliable.
Right.
So it does. So in that case, the thinner ones may have more chemicals. The harder plastics may not leach it, but again, it depends on the type of plastic, and again, it depends on what's going into the plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you've got a point.
And the storage of the plastic. So if I worry about the bottles being when they're first filled and then they're being transported and then they get to where they go. And so but if I had to choose between a soft plastic and a hard plastic, I don't know. I guess I would go with the hard.
Yeah,
if I had to.
I would, but it's the better of
the two evils.
The two evils.
Yeah. Like if I was on a road trip and our water bottles are empty, then I would probably I probably would get a plastic, a harder plastic.
But thank you so much.
I don't know.
I had one other comment. What do you guys think of the practice of bringing empty plastic bottles into the airport and filling it from a tap in the airport so you don't have to pay $4 per bottle of water? Is that something frowned upon, or you're using an empty plastic bottle?
You see, again, once you're using plastic, you're back to the whole idea of plastic again. So you're better off bringing, and this is what I tried with.
Okay. And you've no problem bringing that through even if it's empty?
You know, it's funny. When I was coming through, they did ask me, is there water in it? And I said no. And even if there is water in it, I usually, and so what I'll often do is I'll fill it up maybe a tiny bit, so that I have something, you know, as I'm checking, as I'm doing the various different things, because I get, get warm at the end. And then I get to security. I just finished drinking that little amount that I've not dehydrated, and then it's empty. And they know it's empty. They knew it was empty. They asked me once, but when it goes through the machine, they know it's empty. Yeah. So
like it's unconscionable what they charge for it. You get 36 in Sam's Club for a bottle.
Right, but and the thing here is not only you're saving yourself on kind of avoiding the chemicals, but you're also saving yourself a lot of money. A lot of money.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's so just along that point, I just want to reiterate that it's just the mindset that's just a shift in our thinking to take the time to bring something with us, right? And to kind of like bring our own water bottle rather than purchasing something. And it's just a reminder. And then once you get in that habit, it becomes second nature. So we don't leave our house now without our water bottles, and with our own water bottles. But I appreciate you asking, Fergus. That's a great question.
Yeah. And I just see here that Lily was saying she uses aluminum-free deodorant, particularly mineral salt deodorant, unscented, paraben-free, but the container is always made of plastic. Yes.
So Lily, I have something to share with you. Lily, you can actually, so one thing is you can make your own deodorant. I have been making mine for years, and I actually prefer it because not only do I know what's going into it, but it's very effective, actually. The other thing is that they have started making deodorants where you can leave the case on, and once you use the inside of the actual deodorant portion, you can just refill it. So it's just like this little, like a bar that you just pop in and pop out. Isn't that awesome? So there's an option there for you there. And I will say sometimes with these options, sometimes the investment, the upfront cost might be a little much, but did you want to say something, Lily?
And then I think Dawn was also saying about seeing more water being bottled in plant-based boxes as opposed to plastic. And that's a good,
great.
Yeah, great. It is a great option. So I think, I think that's pretty much over from us.
And I just wanted to mention, Lauren, thanks for posting about natural co-ops or even Whole Foods have shampoo bars now.
Excellent.
So that's an option for you. Was it Dawn that you asked that question? Oh, and you know what? And I found that you can actually make it yourself too. So, again, internet, vast information. All right. And I'm so sorry, Dr. B, that we took some time from you, but you.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Everybody, could you give these ladies a round of applause and just twinkle your fingers at them, because we've got a new dynamic duo here. It's so delightful just to see you smile.
Yeah, phenomenal job, guys. Amazing.
It brings gloom and doom with a smile.
Yeah, you're absolute naturals.
We're so happy to be together.
That comes across very well, and your passion as well.
Like, I'm just ready to hug people and be with everyone again. Susie, I'm looking at you.
but message to everyone is, if you can come with love and joy, people will respond to us. And if we come with judgment and criticism, people go, oh, no thanks, I can't hear you anymore. My ears are stopped. So, we're doing the best we can. We're all making a ripple in the stream. And anything you take away and you share with a couple of folks, it gives you a dopamine rush. We learned that yesterday. Doing good deeds makes us, feel better, not just because, we think we're good people, but it actually triggers, it liberates, reward signals within our own being. And we have to offset all this gloom and doom and negative and unconsciousness, so we're waking ourselves up to wake up, turn on the lights with others.
Right.
So we're really happy to do this. This is our first wellness week. It's it's practice for us, but we really invite you to support us in any way you can. Tell your friends, drop us a note, put a coin in the meter. There's a donate button over there, and it would mean a lot to us, and we're delighted to be able to do this. So. Blessings to us all, and let's kind of shrink that garbage dump.
Yes.
You know, we can't let that go on. It's not right. It's not good for the fish, for anybody. So,
and you're all part of our community now. So come join the Mighty Network and let's carry on the discussion and let's motivate each other because that's how it works.
We'll keep we'll keep those loving faces and hearts open together.
Yeah, that's how it works. Is that
you're
operating in a vacuum by yourself, it gets overwhelming. It's not as fun. Come in the community, tell us about your struggles because we have struggles too about all this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how we learn and grow and make change together, right? So come join us at the Mighty Network. I hope to see all of you in there.
All right.
And we welcome all ages.
All ages.
All ages too.
There you go.
I love ending on this because this is
Mighty
why
Chef.
right? This is why we do it.
Karen.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much
All right.
for joining.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. B. And
we'll see you at 4 o'clock next show.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Same price. Bring your popcorn. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.